Okay, we should go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold on. Just wait 1 sec. Okay, you're good. Go ahead, Rita.
Good evening. The League of Women Voters of Plainfield welcomes you to our 2023 Plainfield City Council Democratic Candidates Forum. My name is Rita Davis, and I'm the VP of Voter Services for the League of Women Voters of Plainfield. The League of Women Voters is a trusted membership organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. The League never opposes or supports candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the League name or footage from the forum in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, including internet, cable, or television, has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters and is not permitted. The moderator for this forum is Marlene Sincaglia. Marlene is a League of Women Voters trained moderator. Born and raised in Paterson, New Jersey, Marlene attended and received her Bachelor of Arts degree from Montclair State University and received her Master of Arts degree from Kean University and spent 33 years in education. She now lives in Berkeley Heights, where in addition to volunteering for the League of Women Voters, she advocates for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network and enjoys playing bridge. We are so grateful that she is our moderator for this event. Marlene?
Thank you, Rita. First, I'd like to introduce the candidates. There are 2 candidates running for 1 seat for council member at large for the 1st and 4th wards. They are Julianne Cherry and Sindel Harris Blackman. Then there are 2 candidates running for the 2nd ward council member, and they are Sean McKenna and Darcella Sessones. Tonight's format is in 3 parts. The first part is the opening statement. Each of the candidates will be given 2 minutes in which to make an opening statement. The second part deals with questions and answers. These questions were provided by the public and screened by the League of Women Voters to make sure that there would be no duplicates, no irrelevant remarks, no abusive language, and no personal attacks. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer these questions on a rotating basis. There are 8 questions to be asked. And the final part of the evening is the closing statement, and each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to make that closing statement, or up to 1.5 minutes. When there's 15 seconds left in each of these parts, the candidates will see a yellow card where the timekeeper is sitting. That card indicates there's 15 seconds left, that they should wrap it up. And then after the 15 seconds, they will see a red card saying stop. They are allowed to finish their thought, but not to run on to other thoughts. So candidates, please take a glance at the timekeeper slot so that you can judge the time remaining. And with that, we will begin our evening's program. As I said, first are opening statements. And the first person to give the opening statement is Julianne Cherry. 2 minutes.
Good evening, City of Plainfield. My name is Julianne Cherry, and I am your candidate for the 1st and the 4th ward at-large position. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity for me to share my platform. I am a wife, a mother, and a homeowner that chose Plainfield to be my forever city. I have a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University and a master's in public administration, summa cum laude, from Kean University, and recently inducted into the Rutgers African American Hall of Fame. My career spans 23 years working in the underserved community. 10 of those years, I worked at the Community Food Bank in New Jersey, practically feeding the entire state of New Jersey, but I've always prioritized my city first. I've worked with almost every feeding program in our city to provide access to nutritious foods and to ensure they had access food 7 days a week. The other 10 years of my career, I've led nonprofit organizations providing access to health and wellness, advocacy, and reintegration back into our society. Over the last 11 years, I've worked with almost every department within our city. from providing turkeys to our police department to distributing turkeys during Thanksgiving and sitting on the board of Plainfield Action Services and coordinating 5 health and wellness fairs. Simply put, I could get this job done. This is not a title for me. I've had titles. I have a 5-point vision that when elected,
Thank you. I guess your 2 minutes are up. Is that okay? Sorry. You'll be able to give more information as we go along. Okay. Next we have Sindel Harris Blackman.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sindel Harris Blackman. I am a candidate for the 1st and 4th Ward City Council. I wanted to thank Rita and Marlene and the League of Women Voters for allowing me this audience. I'm looking forward to speaking with everyone. I'm looking forward to getting to know more about the candidates, and I'm looking forward to sharing my vision. I am a business owner. I own a bookstore. I am a grant writer. I work for a fundraiser for nonprofit management. I'm also an English professor. And most importantly, I'm a lifelong Plainfield resident who wants change in her community. And so it wouldn't be me if I wouldn't have used the wordsmith here. And I wanted to talk about change and what change looks like, right? And when we talk about change, Plainfield, this very election has to decide what type of change do we need. Do we need a change where one person leaves and then another person comes in and we have the same votes and we have the same status quo happening? Or do we want transformational change, where we're actually looking for independent thinkers to think about what is going on with our resolutions? So when I think about that, I think about servant leadership, and I'm here to advocate for transformational change and for servant leadership, the type of leadership that's independent and is not tied to this current administration. So once again, I'm looking forward to sharing my vision, and I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of the candidates on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sean McKenna. You're muted.
Thank you for that. Thank you to the League, first of all, for the important work that you do and for hosting this forum. I've been honored to serve the 2nd Ward of Plainfield on the City Council for the last 3.5 years. I can't say it hasn't been without its frustrations, but I have greatly enjoyed being a voice for the 2nd Ward and an advocate for all wards in Plainfield. Our city's seen a great deal of development, some good and some not. I say not all development is good development. I've been true to my mission to advocate for the best for Plainfield. Sometimes that meant voting for pilots, for tax deals for developers, and many times it meant voting against them. While incentivizing and subsidizing worthy developments can be advantageous, it must be accompanied by robust services from the city that includes strong, well-staffed police department, effective balanced code enforcement that improves quality of life, increasing the home values, and yes, helping developers market their properties. It also requires fiscal responsibility on the part of the council to eliminate wasteful spending like SUVs, and the city paid gas for the mayor and his department heads. This year, the mayor's already 6 weeks late on submitting his budget request to the council. We're told it should be ready in June, which would be after the primary. After elections is when politicians usually raise taxes and their salaries. Currently, we have a growing city and a shrinking police department. We've lost 20% of our officers in the past 2.5 years. Over the next 2 years, 24% of our officers are eligible to retire. That's 30 officers out of approximately 127 when we should have 150. The 2nd Ward does not need another rubber stamp on council. The 2nd Ward and the 1st and 4th Wards, by the way, need individuals who represent what is best for Plainfield and advocate for the concerns and interests of the residents, not the party machine, not city vendors, and not developers. I look forward to this evening's forum, and I once again thank the League for hosting. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Darcella Sissoms.
Good evening, everyone. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Plainfield League of Women Voters for hosting this important forum. My name is Darcella Sessoms, and I'm a Plainfield homeowner of 26 years and a servant leader. With the support of my loving family, I am running to represent the 2nd Ward. I have over 20 years of government and nonprofit experience managing large budgets, developing and implementing numerous initiatives throughout the state of New Jersey, but Plainfield is and always will be my home. I am well vested in our great city through volunteerism and public service with my sorority, and by previously serving as a domestic violence response team coordinator at the Plainfield Police Department and through Union County, a former soccer coach with the Plainfield Rec Department, a local Girl Scout treasurer, and a pastoral associate at Crescent Avenue Presbyterian Church. I am committed to the city of Plainfield, and I believe in the foundation for governance is exceptional leadership. As your next city councilwoman, I will work to end the historical battles that continue to divide this city with petty attributes. I will improve quality of life and safer neighborhoods. I support strategic and smart growth and development in our city. We've come far as a city. I see new paved streets. I see recreational spaces for our children, but there's still much more that I believe needs to be done. As the second ward representative, I will represent the interest of all the people in the second ward and be equally concerned and invested in the other wards. I look forward to tonight's factual and respectful forum. Thank you all again for this amazing opportunity.
Thank you. And now we move to our second part of the program, and that is responses to the questions. Sean McKenna will go first, and the question is, what are your top 2 priorities that you plan to address if you're elected to city council?
So I think it's important to point out that the city council does not have any operational control over how the city runs. We have appropriations control and budget control, but I think it's important that we make sure that our police department is fully funded, because they have not had a contract in a year and a half. And as I said, we've got 20% loss in officers, which we were already below what we needed. And both our police and fire departments need to have the resources to grow and support a city that is growing as far as development. So with respect to that, I think we need to focus on making sure that our core resources and infrastructure are going to grow as the city is growing, and that we also make sure that we are not giving away tax incentives to developers when they are not in a positive effect on the community. We don't just give them away because they want to build something. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the same question, Darcella Sassoons.
So law and public safety continues to be a priority for me. Working in the state's largest law enforcement office, I truly understand the issues of police retention, recruitment, and reestablishing salaries that are commensurated with the other law enforcement units throughout the state of New Jersey. If we don't address the recruitment issues, making sure that our salaries are competitive with the other municipalities, we are going to see a further decrease in the amount of officers that we have. A decrease in officers then causes the residents to be concerned about the safety of our city. So with that being said, I will work very closely to ensure that we have a recruitment strategy, a retention strategy, and we look to maximize that their salary is competitive with the other municipalities. And I will continue to be focused on strategic development that benefits the city in its entirety.
Thank you. Okay, Julian Cherry.
Thank you. The second part of my vision is that I'd like to bring back block associations to increase communication and engagement. There's a lot of unengaged and there's a lot of misinformation going through our city. So I want to bring back block associations to ensure our neighbors have access to factual information. The second thing is that I want to make sure that we increase the collaboration between city and schools. And when I mean schools, not just our public schools, but bringing our charter and our private and the city to the table. And then we layer that with nonprofits coming to the table to provide access to resources. We should be able to provide our guardians, our grandparents, and our parents a resource for all of our children to be able to be safe and thrive in our city. We need to work together, and it's going to take community.
Thank you. And Sindel Harris Blackman.
2 clear points. The first one is support for working families. Because I am someone who had family who raised me here, I want to raise my children here. We need to keep generations here in Plainfield, and that means keeping Plainfield affordable keeping Plainfield safe, and making sure that we're supporting our families and making sure that our children have recreation centers. My second point, and this is probably the biggest point, is checks and balances in City Hall. Just to piggyback off of what Sean McKenna said, we need to make sure that as a body, a governing body, we're able to have independent thinking and not the specific 4-3 majority vote that always pass throughs with resolutions. The 4 presenting the mayor and his administration in column A, and the 3 votes representing the independent thinkers and the people who want growth and the people who actually listen and read the resolutions. So 2 clear points: working families, support for working families, and also making sure that there's checks and balances in City Hall. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, question number 2, and Sindel Harris Blackman, you're going first for this question, and it asks, what do you specifically plan to do to protect historic properties that are threatened by development?
This is an amazing question, especially because we have a historic preservation society here in the city of Plainfield, and I feel like they need to come to the table and have a whole bunch of say in these conversations with what we need to preserve. The great Queen City of Plainfield has beautiful architecture here. It's very, very, very attractive to live here, but we have to keep people here, and we have to keep the people involved in this preservation society at the table. That's important. Collaboration and communication with them is also important. We shouldn't be shunning away or shying away people who want to talk about the architecture. So I think it's important for us to be in conversation with the people and the powers that be who know and who have expertise in the areas of historic preservation.
Thank you. Same question, Sean McKenna.
So I was on the planning board for 8 years before I was on council, and I have a lot of respect for the Historic Preservation Commission. I am also very upset that the mayor and the council at large had decided to strip them of their powers. We've also taken redevelopment plans. One in particular goes from the YMCA across from City Hall back to the fire station. And we've jumped that redevelopment plan, which was a very good redevelopment plan. It was very well done. And we jumped across 7th into a development that is facing 7th. And then we crossed over and tweaked spot zoned, which we hate to say, into a historic preservation area on Crescent Avenue. A wonderful historic, one of the most unique in Plainfield, by the way, and it is now zoned for a 8-story, and it can have a lounge and a tavern and all sorts of other things right in the heart of a historic district. So I am for preserving the historic elements of our city and not letting developers dictate what we do.
Thank you. Okay, Darcella Sassoms.
I am for the preservation of the historical value of homes in the city of Plainfield, but I'm also in support of homeowner autonomy. The 2 entities, the Historical Preservation Society and the homeowners, have to come together and mutually agree on what's appropriate for both parties. The homeowners have also mentioned that the cost of keeping up with some of the requirements by the Historical Preservation Society is costing and pricing them out of their own home. And so while we want to maintain that historical value of the city of Plainfield, we also don't want to price homeowners out of the cost of repair and keeping up with that historical look.
Thank you. And Julian Cherry.
Thank you. So the first thing I would do is educate the community about the importance of these historic buildings and the houses. I think a lot of our Plainfield residents don't know about what the importance is. Second, I would educate the importance of, again, these buildings to our zoning and our planning board. And I would give them full autonomy and the decision and power to make decisions.
Okay. Thank you. Next question, and Darcella Sassoms, you're going to be going first. The question asks, do you believe council adequately supports codes and ordinances? And if not, please explain how you would work to change the current practices. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I have no evidence that indicates that they have not respected the codes. So I would respond with because these are elected officials, I'm going to assume that they are abiding by the integrity of their positions, but no evidence has been presented to me that indicates that they have not been respecting them, and I would assume that they are.
Thank you. Julian Cherry.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, moderator, would you, don't take it against Ms. Cherry, would you repeat the question? I lost the first part of it.
Oh, okay. The question reads, do you believe council adequately supports codes and ordinances? If not, please explain how you would work to change the current practices.
So I think that council does support codes and zoning ordinances. One of the things that I would, if elected as the next councilwoman, would be to ensure that our city is clean. One of the things that we should do in terms of our staffing and our cleanup, we need more people within our community to ensure that our neighborhoods are clean, the garbage is off the street, and that the garbage is even cleaned out in the downtown area. So I would just really ensure that we have more city personnel there to clean up our city and to write citations when needed.
Thank you. Okay, Sindel Harris Blackman.
Yeah, so I'm in full support of the council and their code enforcement. I believe that there needs to be more code enforcement, especially to keep Plainfield safe. There has been looming issues of, and I have to agree with Julianne Cherry on this, of trash, which is one of my platforms in terms of trash and litter and pickup of litter. But in terms of code enforcement, I am all for how city council involves themselves in code enforcement and also ensures that code enforcement is happening. I do believe that we should have more code enforcement and just hold our Department of Public Works accountable for that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And Sean McKenna.
Yeah, thank you. So the council can certainly perform its oversight responsibilities, but the council does not enforce code. The council writes code, the council writes ordinances and resolutions, but the council does not have any operational activity. So we don't enforce code. Do I think that we need to maintain our downtown? Yes. Do I think code enforcement needs to be more stringent downtown? Absolutely. Do I think we need to address the fact that we have a littering problem in town? Absolutely. That is not necessarily a council operational activity. Happy to write an ordinance to increase effectiveness of the ordinances that are on the books. But what we need to do is have the administration enforce the ordinances that are already on the books. We have littering ordinances. We don't need to have people taking time out of their weekends to pick up after other people throwing stuff out windows, because that's why we pay taxes. So it's not necessarily a council activity, but in agreement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question, Julian Cherry, you're going first. And the question it asks, how do you propose to make streets safer by addressing speeding, illegal street vehicles, and excessive vehicle noise during early morning hours?
So I think it goes back to our code enforcement. We need to have more of our police presence in our community. I would institute speed bumps. I would institute the traffic speedometer on the side of the road. And I would also ensure that there are crossing guards during peak hours, especially when children are going to school and when they're getting off of school. But ultimately, it takes the community, but it also is a code enforcement issue.
Thank you. Okay, Sindel Harris Blackman.
Yeah, so I have a three-step approach to when it comes to traffic reducing infrastructure and signage and speeding. Unfortunately, we can't ask police, especially with Sean McKenna's stats, we can't ask police to be in presence if we don't have enough police. That's like asking 5 people to do 10 people's job. We can't do that. So first we need to assess. There needs to be assessment of streets, traffic, speeding. Secondly, we need to be having a collaboration with the Department of Public Works, and we need to figure out signage and coming together for speed bumps, stop signs, and better communication so that when people are driving, they're able to see that this is a no turn on red, this is a stop, this is a go slower. So those 3 things, assessment, collaboration with Department of Public Works, along with signage and communication is vital to this issue that we have in the city of Plainfield.
Thank you. Sean McKenna.
Yeah, so Ms. Harris Blackman is correct, is that enforcement, as much as the police would like to do it, is very hard to do when you're when you're already 23 officers short and you got another 30 that are going to leave in the next 2 years. We can't speed bump and stop sign our way out of this issue. That's just going to be absolutely ridiculous. We need to have enforcement. The speed trap mile per hour thing is great, but we only have 2 of those, and people know 25 miles an hour zone. They learned it in driver's ed, so they're not going to care. With respect to the illegal vehicles, that's been an ongoing problem. We don't need to chase them. That is not the solution, but there are ways around it. And the police department has come up with a plan years ago, but it has not been allowed to be enforced. And as well as the ridiculously loud aftermarket mufflers that need to be addressed. There is a noise ordinance already in place about those. But again, we don't have the officers to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Darcella Soames.
So as I walked and talked to the residents in the second ward, many collaborative solutions were discussed. This included the residents, local traffic safety experts, and transportation industry experts working in partnership to develop a community-informed traffic safety plan. The Department of Transportation does an excellent job with coming in and doing assessments for municipalities on their traffic safety issues. The residents also proposed several solutions that range from equipment, traffic safety signals, speed detectors, speed bumps, increased traffic signage to crossing guards in high traffic areas for our children, increased traffic signs, and increased penalties for violators of these traffic safety laws. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach with the residents being at the helm of what they would like to see done, but also in concert with traffic safety experts.
Thank you. Okay, question number 5, Darcella Soames, you're going first. And the question asks, if elected, how would you work toward a method that ensures questions from the public posed during meetings are answered immediately or within 3 business days? If council leadership refuses to permit a public response to questions, what would your next step be?
So I think as elected officials, part of us being responsive to the voters is having a level of accountability and to our voting population and the residents of our cities. I believe that mechanisms and procedures can be put into place that we can track any inquiry so that we can ensure that a response is provided within a 3 business day response time, so that the residents would feel as if they were being heard. It would concern me if we were not getting back to voters in a timely manner, because when we don't get back to the residents of our city, they feel not heard, and that is not an inclusive process of governance. And so I would work to ensure that there was a mechanism where we documented and made sure that we were responding back to the residents in a timely manner, and that we tracked it. And we also solicited feedback from the residents to see how we're doing in that process.
Thank you. Okay. Sean McKenna, same question.
So I'm on record, especially at almost every council meeting this year, of advocating for responding to citizens' comments and questions. I get a lot of pushback from the council and the council president on this, and it is in writing already that we have the ability to respond to residents' comments and questions. It has taken a little bit of effort, but we are finally advocating for the residents and getting the answers that they're asking for. And I keep a book. I have a binder that I have at every meeting that I've had since I joined council, and I write down every comment that is made by a citizen at city council meetings. We owe it to the public. They are not, by the way, they're public meetings, but they're not public meetings. They are a city council meeting that is open to the public, but we owe them as their public servants the respect to answer their questions, as uncomfortable as some of them may be. And I am a 100% advocate for that, and I have pushed for that since the moment I got on council.
Thank you. Julian Cherry.
Thank you. So I think that we shouldn't just use our council meetings as the only way for civic engagement. You know, through block associations, I think that will help increase the communication and engagement through our city. You know, we shouldn't wait for once a month for issues to be addressed in one forum. If we're meeting consistently, if the councilmen are approachable, definitely able to, we should be calling our council people, emailing them. Our council people should be in the community so that it's just not this one particular forum that they're going to. So questions and answers need to be made. So again, I just think that our council needs to be readily available in the community, and this should not be the only forum or the avenue for our community and our neighbors to communicate issues.
Thank you. Sindel Harris Blackman.
Thank you. I just want to be clear. Block associations are another barrier for having access to the governing body. I understand we should have access to block associations and we should do that. But I think the biggest issue is the idea that this current council does not enjoy public comment and accountability. They just don't. It's unprofessional, it's disrespectful, and it makes me upset as a resident of Plainfield because whenever I see someone trying to make public comment, it is always shut out by this current administration. Not only does this need to be transformed completely, but there needs to be a shift in professionalism and there needs to be a shift in morals when we come to just the idea of public comment. And I just want to be extremely clear. If the current administration continues on with what they're doing, if you elect predecessors or opponents who are with this administration, you're going to continue to have a blockage of public comment, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, question number 6. Sean McKenna, you're going first again. And the question reads, how will you work with the mayor's office to uphold the budget to meet the needs of Plainfield residents?
Well, so the way that the process works is that the mayor submits a budget request, which by the way is over 6 weeks late right now. And then the council has public meetings, interviews with the department heads, and then we submit our budget cuts or suggestions or transfers to the council president, and those are coordinated into a final budget. If you go back over the last, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 20 years, they don't vary from the budget submitted by the mayor to the budget that's approved by the council. The budget in the city is a council budget, not a mayor's budget. It's a council budget. The mayor requests an allotment, and then we are responsible for allocating it. We don't do a good job of that. We listen to all the department heads. We just go with whatever they want. We let SUVs be purchased for the police department and given to the administration. So we are failing in that. And I've mentioned it at every budget meeting since I've been on the council, but I am one of 7 votes.
Thank you. Okay, Darcella Sassones.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Yes. How will you work with the mayor's office to uphold the budget to meet the needs of Plainfield residents?
So the budget making procedures are pretty much set in stone with the presentation of the budget, usually the public hearing, an address of concerns and cuts that the body would want to make, and then the budget is voted on. My expectation would be that a budget would be presented in a timely manner for the council to go through that process to make sure there's hearings so that the public could ask the appropriate questions that they want to ask about the budget, and then to pass a timely budget, making sure that it is justifiable, reasonable, and that it shows that we have done our due diligence in terms of our fiscal responsibility for the residents of the city. So I would make sure that that process is followed, and where it is not followed, I would raise questions to make sure that it would be followed in the future.
Thank you. Sindel Harris Blackman.
Yeah, 2 words, what budget? I haven't seen a budget. I know that we're 6 weeks late from a budget. I'm very concerned that we haven't seen a budget because no budget equals tax increase. And if you are thinking or observing or discovering if there's going to be a tax increase, it's going to probably happen after election season. And if you don't want that to happen, you have to think about the current administration and who they plan to want you guys to have a vote on. So let's just think about that, number 1. Number 2, in terms of timely budgets, a budget is supposed to come out every time around this time. If we are not questioning, if we're not holding the mayor and his office accountable for the budget, then we wouldn't be doing our job. So that's another thing. And then finally, we have to uphold a budget, but we don't have one. So I have to keep saying this in probably a different way, but we don't have a budget. and we don't have a budget because taxes are increasing. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Julian Cherry.
Yeah, so one of the things is that taxes, our city taxes have not increased. They've actually stabilized. But how I'll work with the administration and the mayor's offices, one, I've had a great working relationship through 2 administrations. And I've worked tirelessly through those 2 administrations. So I think one is having those open dialogues with the directors to ensure that, you know the direction that Plainfield is going. And once you're attending those subcommittee meetings, I will utilize the voice and perspective of our community. I'm making sure that whatever that they need, the needs of the community are in that budget. So moreover, more or less, just making sure that we have open communication from our community, our neighbors, and whatever their perspective or their needs is reflective in that budget, and ensuring that we have a good relationship with our government. We have developers that are looking at us, and the constant bickering, we need to end that. So we need to, again, make sure that we're on the same page and we're moving forward together in open and honest communication.
Thank you. Okay, question number 7. And Sindel Harris Blackman, you're going first. The question asks, how do you plan to address the social conflicts that can arise from cultural differences and diverse demographics to help our communities work together to keep Plainfield a great place to live?
So this question is weird, and this question is being posed weird because it almost seems as if there's a problem or a looming issue with 2 ethnicities, as if there's a race war happening in Plainfield when there's not. What I do see is that there is a gap, and there needs to be a bridged gap. I see people who are not being represented properly, and that specifically is the Hispanic community. So if and when I'm elected, first of all, I'll be happy to say that I'm going to be the first Afro-Latina on council. There is going to be representation because I'm going to be able to listen to the concerns of the Hispanic community, and make sure that their voices are heard, number one. Number two, when we talk about the idea of like social trends and things that we need to address, there's enough resources for everyone in the town. There's enough resources for everyone in the town. We can all live together. That isn't an issue. I think the only thing that we need to make sure is we have representation, and there's also accessibility. Currently, the city council doesn't even have a translator. There's a large population of people who don't even know what's going on because of the language barrier. So again, we're bridging the gap, and we need to bridge the gap by having representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Julian Cherry.
So one of the things I think that we need to do is that we need to get ahead of this data and continue to review our census data. What it shows is that we have a large Hispanic Latinx population in the city of Plainfield. So I think that we need to get ahead of that. We need to make sure that we have our city personnel that is employed that could speak Spanish, that can address current concerns, and also provide resources in real time. I also think that multicultural fairs, so we can learn each other's ethnicity. It's not just about, a Latinx, but we also have different cultures within the city that we could all learn from each other. And I think also the basic needs, making sure all the basic needs are met. We have a lot of people that are coming, but they may not have access to food, may not have access to shelter, may not have access to home. So just making sure and ensuring that the basic needs of our community is being met by everyone.
Thank you. Sean McKenna.
Yeah, so, the Latino population is not a growing population, it's the majority population in town. So I think that that's the first thing we acknowledge. Secondly, that they have come from communities and countries where they're not inclined to participate in politics because it's usually under duress and other issues. I think first and foremost, we need to welcome them to our community. I think we need to embrace them. And I think we as elected officials need to lead and represent for everybody in town and try to get past these. There are some barriers and things that we need to sort through, but Plainfield as a whole does not have this old world routine that we keep talking about where there's these divisions. There's divisions because we tend to stay in our own pockets, but that's our own fault. And I think we need to do more and not just pay it lip service and embrace all the multi-generational, multi-ethnicities that we have in the community. It's our strength, not our weakness.
Thank you. And Darcella Soames.
Well, I do think that there is a cultural divide within the city of Plainfield, but it's not necessarily based on country of origin. But that's a different conversation for another time. Regarding the many cultures that are represented in our city, we need to get away from the term address it and utilize the term affirm it, and welcome it into our city. It is what makes Plainfield the Queen City, because we are inclusive and welcoming, or should be, of all cultures. But one of the things that I would do is I would create a citywide commission on multicultural affairs, partnering with local caucuses so that we can learn from one another, thereby reducing these misunderstandings and stereotypes that can potentially divide our city. We are a welcoming community and an affirming community, and that is what Plainfield should be known for.
Thank you. Okay, and the last question for this section of the program, and Julian Cherry, you're going first, is give 3 reasons Plainfield residents should vote for you in the upcoming election.
Thank you. So I have the talent, the will, and the skill set to get the job done. I have managed multi-million-dollar budgets through my profession as executive directors, and I will ensure your tax dollars are spent wisely. I'm a strategic thinker. I know how to multitask, and I know how to deal with difficult situations and also difficult people. And last but not least, I've worked 23 years in the underserved community. 10 of those years I've managed and I've worked with people within the community, and I've been an advocate. So I will continue to advocate for our community and ensure your tax dollars are spent wisely.
Thank you. Sindel Harris Blackman.
Thank you. So 3 reasons. Number 1, I just want to make the statement clear that all experience is not good experience. Because if you have good experience, then you would not currently be running for administration in column A. So with that experience, I'm a lifelong Plainfield resident. So I listen to the people. I've already listened to the people. I have a soft skill set of making sure that I'm listening and they're being heard. They want to be heard. They want to have access. They want to be provided with access. So that's the first reason why I'm running for city council. And I'm really just tired. I'm tired, and I'm ready for some change. And I'm talking about transformational change where there's nobody else who is giving me anybody's hidden agenda. There's no type of administration bias in here or influence. This is independent thinking. And then finally, and my last reason is because I've always lived here and I've always wanted to make sure that I uphold Queen City to be just that, the Queen City. Thank you.
Thank you. Darcella Soames.
So one would say my ancestors haven't always lived here. They were trafficked here and brought here for slavery, but that does not make my contributions to this city or this country any less because I wasn't originally from here or this city. I am not a rubber stamper by any means, and I know how to get things done with a hand instead of a hammer. I am experienced. I'm a results-driven leader with a proven census building record who believes in the I Act model: I, integrity; A, accountability; C, civility; and T, transparency. I will work to increase the downtown entrepreneurship opportunities and economic growth. I not only understand public safety issues, but I will work tirelessly to make sure that that remains at the forefront of our city.
Okay, thank you. And Sean McKenna.
Yes, there's quite a few reasons, but one, I'm an advocate for all of Plainfield, and I'm on record in many votes voting against things that I don't think were in the benefit of any other ward other than the second ward. I might be elected for the second ward, but I don't just vote for the second ward or look out for the second ward. I have a track record of being independent. I'm not beholden to a political machine. Even though I am a Democrat, I am not beholden to the party machine. I don't take money from any city vendors. I don't take money from any developers, nor would I. I think that it is important to understand too, that there's a lot of work that goes into being a council person, and that is late night calls, early morning calls, emails, trying to sort through people being evicted, people having their buildings condemned, which I've been through in the last couple of weeks to a great extent. And it's important to understand that there are things that you need to do that to help people resolve their issues. And so I don't work just for the second ward. I might be elected by the second ward, but I work for all of Plainfield.
Thank you. This brings us to our third and final portion of tonight's program, and that is closing remarks. Each candidate will get a minute and a half to make any closing remarks. And going first is Darcella Sassones.
Thank you. The residents of the city of Plainfield, they understand the meaning of resiliency and renaissance. And it is the city's ability to bounce back because it desires more and has the courage to reimagine itself through opportunities other than what others thought was not possible. It is our strength to build up and not to tear down. I will work alongside the Plainfield residents to build and strengthen the power at the grassroots level and fight for a more inclusive democracy within this city. Utilizing all the resources and the knowledge that I have established through my career, electing me as the next councilwoman creates a great opportunity for meaningful and impactful change while building our city, not tearing it down. I'm asking that the residents look at my stellar record of effective leadership, economic opportunities for the underserved, my inclusive approach, most importantly, look at my ability to treat every resident in the entire ward and the greater Queen City as if they were all royalty and not just a few select. I am Darcella, a real Democrat who was born to serve, and I guarantee you that I will always keep Plainfield first and fight for our residents. Thank you for the opportunity to get to know me better. Appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you. Sean McKenna.
Yes, thank you again to the League for tonight's forum, and thanks to the other candidates that are participating in this year's council election. It isn't easy knocking on doors 7 days a week for 6+ weeks. I commend you all for participating in the process. I want to close this evening by thanking the Second Ward for the privilege of representing you on the City Council. I also want to ask that you support my re-election to another term as your representative. The Second Ward needs a voice that is independent of party machine politics, is not beholden to the city vendors or the developers, and is focused on representing the interests of the Second Ward and advocating for other wards within Plainfield. I will admit, I do not much like being called a councilman outside of an official meeting. I don't like attending ribbon cuttings filled with long self-serving speeches by those on the dais. However, I do enjoy being a councilman. I do enjoy helping residents, or trying anyway, with their issues and concerns. I enjoy walking the neighborhoods and talking to residents, registered to vote or not. I enjoy asking tough questions and helping to bring some transparency to the issues brought before the legislative body. And I love being your councilman. I hope to earn your vote on June 6th to represent you for another term on the City Council. And I thank everyone for attending tonight's forum.
Thank you. Okay. Sindel Harris Blackman.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters. I want to thank Marlene, and I want to thank Rita for giving us this opportunity to speak. And I also want to take the time, especially with the candidates, to come and speak. I just want to talk about the first and fourth ward specifically really fast. The first and the fourth ward is something that I call the heartbeats of Plainfield, where these are working families who are going out to work and coming back into the community, who have children, who are sometimes living check to check, and sometimes they're looking to figure out where they're going to eat again. I don't think that people realize how important it is to have a person or a representative in the first and fourth ward who can advocate for them properly. And the only way we can do that to this time around is to vote. This election is the most important election probably in the history of Plainfield. We're able to decide whether we're going to take the 4-3 council votes where they are appeasing to the mayor, and it will now be 3-4 the voice of the people. So when you have friends, if you have friends, please tell your friends that it is important to vote on June 6th, and it's important to vote for column C, because column C is going to be the people who understand that there's the heartbeat of Plainfield and there's people who are willing to listen. I can give you my expertise. I can show you all of my degrees. I can tell you all the things that I have done for this community, but most importantly, you're looking for a leader to listen, and you're looking for a leader to give effective and practical solutions. And that's going to be me, Sindel Harris Blackman. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Julian Cherry.
Thank you. Over the last 4 months, I've walked door to door, getting to know my neighbors. I discussed my platform, and I heard all your concerns. Overwhelmingly, I have provided real-time solutions. I've answered your questions and even provided you real solutions and resources in real time, and that you didn't even know existed. I have run a fact-based campaign, and I've never smeared my opponent, as such my opponent has done today. My 5-point vision is that I want to use your voice and your perspective to move the city forward. I want to bring back block associations to increase communication and engagement. I want to make sure that you know what resources are available for you in the community that are untapped. I want to increase the collaboration between city and school because we need resources for our youth. And I want to clean up our city. I want to do 2 city cleanups, spring and the fall, until it becomes turnkey. Plainfield, no one has asked me to run. Please vote Tuesday on or before column A, Julian Cherry. Plainfield needs a mature and experienced councilwoman. Let me be your voice for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates for sharing their positions on these issues. Rita? Rita, you're muted. Okay.
Thank you, Marlene. We hope that you were enlightened by our forum and that we have provided you with more insight to make an informed choice for this election. For those that were unable to watch live tonight, encourage your Plainfield friends and family to watch a recording of this forum on 411.org, the Plainfield League of Women Voters YouTube channel, and our Facebook page, League of Women Voters of Plainfield Area, New Jersey. The League of Women Voters welcomes men and women. If you are interested in our local organization, comment on our Facebook page or send an email to lwvnjplainfield@gmail.com. Regarding voting for this election, registered voters can apply for a vote by mail ballot by following the instructions found at vote.nj.gov or contacting the Union County Clerk at ucnj.org. The application must be received by the county clerk by May 30th. In-person early voting is an option that enables all registered voters to cast their ballots in person using a voting machine. Union County has 7 in-person voting locations, including Plainfield, that will be open Friday, June 2nd through Sunday, June 4th. Hours will be Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. No appointment is needed. Or you can vote in person at your polling place from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on primary election day, June 6th. We thank you for joining us. Candidates, thank you for a wonderful forum. Good night.